the professions that is not really appreciated that much by people is actually the chaplains. And we know also that during war, when there is death and there is dying around the sidewalks, or even in the military camps during war times, and even in the hospitals and the different institutions, the chaplains seem to be, on the rise, and they are being recognized. But what is really the role of chaplains to us? Dear viewers, we'd like to invite you in the next 60 minutes as we try to discuss here the potentials and pains of the profession, the chaplains. I'd like to welcome to the show our friends who are working as chaplains. Of course, we'll start off with our young ladies. We have here with us Wani Serrano. She's a female Adventist chaplain. And Wani, how long have you been working as a chaplain?
I am now on my third of fourth quarters of clinical pastoral education, and now working as a reliever at Adventist Medical Center and also a volunteer lady chaplain at Philippine Heart Center.
Okay, and of course we should also welcome our friend here, Father Andrew Su. Shu, how do I call your name? Shu or Su? So, all right. Father Andrew, you're from the Order of the Ministers of the Infirm, Chameleon Chaplain, Philippine Heart Center. And how many years have you been also doing your work as a chaplain?
I've been with the Philippine Heart Center for 3 years. For 2 years, I stay as a seminarian. But as a priest, I'm with the Heart Center for 1 year.
All right. And of course, we have also Pastor Jimwell Absede. You are also from the Manila Adventist College Church, and you are also acting as a chaplain there. So how many years have you been a chaplain?
Actually, I do pastoring for 24 years. But when I was assigned here, I engaged for 1 year as a chaplain.
In the school?
In the school.
Not in the hospital?
Not in the hospital.
All right. And of course, andito naman sa atin si Pastor Marlon Antonio. He's also the chaplain for the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Reserve Command.
Yes, ma'am.
And gaano na din po kay katagal?
Well, I started 2013 sa General Headquarters ng AFP sa Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City.
Opo, so that means you are given the title also as captain? Do I get it right?
Yes, ma'am. I was commissioned last year, April 2015.
All right. So another lady chaplain here. We have actually Miss Jaisal Diaz. You are from the Adventist University of the Philippines.
Yes, I'm from AUP, as they call it, and I'm the youth pastor in our church there called Philippine International Church. It's been a year that I've been there and working with the students and being at the same time their chaplain. And I also experienced being a chaplain in the hospital last 2012 to 2013 in Adventist Medical Center, Manila.
All right. So napakaganda ng inyong trabaho because if you will really notice, you are getting into contact with those people who are in most in need of your services. So, para bang, if I am a medical doctor, patients would come and see me because they're sick and they want to be healed, or maybe they need to be taught how to prevent the illness. Your role is also almost similar to ours, wherein you now touch on the different aspect of healing, which is more of spiritual. Now, for all 5 of you, there is one thing that is very common, and the common denominator there is actually service. And service for different groups of people, right? In other words, people who do not have the same faith as you do, maybe not of the same color as you do, people who may not also belong to the same society that you are in. So how are you able to, be able to integrate that in your belief, knowing that this particular person needing your help may believe in a different manner than you do? Let's start off with you, Wani.
Well, I usually introduce myself as I am an Adventist, and I usually ask them if you are comfortable because most of the patients in the hospital are Catholics, and rarely we encounter with us as Adventists or Christians or Buddhists and other denominations, and we respect their beliefs. And if I usually ask them if I am an Adventist, and if you are comfortable for me to pray for you, then I'll do that. And I usually introduce myself as a chaplain, and of course, in my limited capacity, I usually serve them in my in their spiritual and emotional needs. And so if they are going to allow me to pray for them, then I'll do that for them. And especially if they are needing someone to listen to them, because we know that not only those patients are going in the hospital, they do not go there just for physical pains only, but of course with their emotionals also. And if it is affected with that, their relationship with God is also affected. And so that's the very thing that we usually cater. Being a
Father
chaplain.
Andrew, you've been with the Philippine Heart Center. You said you've been a priest in the seminary. And how do you now try to integrate yourself in terms of, I would say you're not a born Filipino, yeah, right? And so you are in a foreign country with different beliefs, different culture. And so when patients, request for your services, how do you now try to relate to them?
After staying 10 years in the Philippines, I could say I can understand their culture and even the language. I try to but important is not about religion. The pastoral service is not about religion, but it's more on when they are having difficult moment in their life, they will feel there is a somebody beside them. They're not alone.
Yes, I like that word when he said that there is that somebody beside them when they are in their greatest time of need. Let's ask Pastor Marlon. Yours is a different setting. That's a military camp. In other words, the people that you come in contact with, the one who will be needing and requiring your services, will be maybe transferred from one place to the next, uprooting their families, So there's a different need there. So how do you handle that also?
Actually, in the armed forces, chaplains have, there are three different kinds of chaplains. You have the Catholics, evangelicals, and the Muslims. Usually, chaplains in the military are representatives of their own denominations and religions. But however, since you are a chaplain of the armed forces, you could minister to all types of soldiers. One of the basic need of a soldier is because we know the soldiers, sabi nga nila yung kaliwang paa mo ay
Nandun na.
nakabaon na sa hukay, no? Before going to war, they expect worst, either they will die there or whatever, leaving their families without parents. So the need actually is to give them the assurance that that as long as they are serving God, protecting the country, God is always there for them. Not only for them, but also for their own families. So, but aside from that, there are many difficult situations of military families. Like, for example, one of the problems is that adultery. Of course, to be realistic, there are many soldiers who have, sinasabi natin may mga kabit or whatever, kasi tatransfer sa ibang mga military camps. And mostly, you have to deal with grieving wives, no? So, dalawa yan. Yung peace of mind ng mga sundalo na pupunta sa gera at saka yung mga naiwan at saka yung mga nahihiwalay pa dahil sa iba-ibang mga klaseng mga ganito. So, it's like with the hospital chaplains. You have to address the need. Because military chaplains are very much respected. Either kahit general pa yan, basta chaplain yan, nirerespeto nila yan. And they need spiritual care and assurance that whatever happens, okay, they are safe with the Lord. No? So, masyado kasing sa kanila eh. Like for example, just last December, yung isang mga na baptized doon na sumunod sa Panginoon, who wants to follow the Lord, ay naputukan ng bomba doon sa Zamboanga, putol ang kamay, putol ang paa. But however, since we have been with them before going there, kahit yun yung nangyari sa kanila, they're still at peace. They're still happy na kahit ito nangyari sa amin, Pastor or Sir, we are assured that God is with us no matter what happens.
Would you say that, Father Andrew, that, you're in the hospital setting just like Wani? So would you say that your encounter also with the patients who would be seeking your help would be almost similar to what Father Marlon has, to Pastor Marlon here? Because, para bang it's an end, an end thing. Unlike people who are just outside walking around, doing their duties maybe, and working in offices, wherein the close call for our mortality is not really that much felt. So would you say that there is almost a similarity to that account to what Pastor here is saying?
Yeah, there are many similarities. But in the hospital setting, most of time we are dealing with the end of life issues. So the main goal of our pastoral visit is to make the patient to feel there is no baggage in their heart. The relation with the family, most of time they have a problem with the family. The children's, they are abroad, then the patient is in the hospital for 1 month, 2 months, but nobody comes. This kind of issues, how can we help them to feel at peace? Not only physical sickness, but emotionally they are disturbed so much. And this is our part to help them to be at peace.
Now let's go to Jazel and to Pastor Jim here. You are more on the educational, the institution, where your interaction would be mostly to the students, maybe, and to the faculty and to their families. What would be the most common problems that you encounter? Why they would come and see you? First, and number two, is there a difference between your roles as chaplains there to that of the guidance and counseling office? Let's start with the lady first.
Okay, since I'm very young and
Yeah, you are very young.
they're usually coming to me wanting to open up regarding their love life. College students are very problematic with that. Probably they want directions and someone who would listen to them regarding to that stage of their life. And our difference with the guidance counseling is that first and foremost, we are a friend to them. We are giving pastoral care. We want to journey with them in their life, while the guidance counselor are there to help them troubleshoot their problems, help them to have directions with regard to their situations or issues. And so whenever they would come to us, they are so freely talking to us just like a friend. And they know that we are going with them wherever they would go in their life. Even after they graduate, we would still be with them.
All right. What about Pastor Jim?
Actually, being a chaplain is a very difficult task, or it's not a simple work to do. The most common problem with the young people is we have what we call the dysfunctional homes, chronic marriage relationship, husband and wife, and the most affected party is
The children.
the children. And I have said a while ago that it is difficult to enter with that kind of problems with the young people. They have a hard time to open up. So as a caregiver, I know how to. I need to know how to facilitate with them. So maybe I put myself as their father, so that I will listen to them. I know how to give my ears to them. Just let them speak up of what they have in their hearts, their problems, and most of them, like what she said, that they have the broken-hearted experience. Maybe they have some background with regards to this dysfunctional families, that it will be related problems to their broken-hearted with their loved ones, with their friends, something like that.
Hearing the five of you describe your work with these different groups of people, the sick, the soldiers, the students, the families, and everyone, it would seem that there is one common factor that is common to all of you, and which I also believe is common among those who work as chaplains. And that is actually learning how to empathize with your clients, we call them your clients or your patients, without really also having to imbibe and inherit the problems. You know what I mean? I mean, you learn to be able to understand them and give them what they need without you carrying that burden as a baggage to yourself, so that when you leave that place, when you come home to where you should be going home, you separate your personal from your professional work. Now, the question that I'd like to ask the five of you, and I'll be giving each one of you time to answer this, would be, how do you manage that? We'll start with Wani.
All right. Well, usually we encounter patients something like, sharing with us their burdens, especially when they are having one patient that I encounter is yung tinanggal na yung kanyang breast, no? Tapos wala yung kanyang ovary niya, tatanggalin din. Tapos yung kanyang asawa ay womanizer, something like, napakabigat yun para sa kanya. And tapos mag-isa lang siya, and the husband is not around. And so, how am I going to facilitate, and how am I going to show my care to her when she is really on, she's crying and all, and she's asking, why is it happening to me? Why is it God is allowing this to happen to me? Napakabuti ko naman, nagsiserve naman ako sa kanya, and something like, And what I usually do is to listening very, I am really offering my time to her, listening to her, and facilitating on how is it affecting her, something like, without judging or without telling her anything. Basta I just let her pour out everything, because that is really a help for her, na mailabas niya ang kanyang sama ng loob. And after that, if I am not emotionally stable, I'm going to carry that monkey or something, her burden in me. And I'm going to leave the room. Talagang yung baggage niya dala-dala ko. So napaka-ano nun para sa akin. Pero one thing na napakaganda sa amin is bago kami pumunta sa kanila, ito yung inaano sa amin at tinuturo sa amin na dito ka, you need to, emotionally stable. Lahat ng mga cares mo, sige, dito mo gawin. Because after mo na pumunta ka doon, you are going to focus on the patient, not on yourself.
All right. What about you, Pastor Jim? How do you handle that?
Yeah, as what she said, that you need to prepare yourself before you go to that patient or to the patient. Mahirap sa amin kasi pag may problema ka, parang hindi ka makatulong sa kanya. But what I learned in the chaplaincy is you will journey with them. So may problema siya. So makikita mo rin yung sarili mo. But you need to strengthen yourself. And you will help them to strengthen also. Galing din sa kanila yung resources na lalakas sila from them. Hindi kami ang mag-a-advise sa kanya or sa patient, but we will facilitate. And it will help also. Kung natulungan mo siya, pati ikaw natutulungan din ang sarili mo. And
Yes,
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. What about you, Miss Jays?
Actually, before being a chaplain, I used to also to counsel other people. And I experienced the same thing, that I've been burdened of their problems. And that's not good. I think that's not the right way of counseling or dealing with the situation. But then when I took up the clinical pastoral education, the training before being a chaplain, then that's the time I've learned that my issues, I should resolve them first So yeah, before going to the client or the patients, we should really prepare ourselves. I really pray hard before going out of the office. And then after that, after dealing with them, after hearing their problems, their issues, their burdens, I would go back to the office and once again pray to God.
Let me ask a different question for Brother Andrew and to Pastor Marlon. Hearing the three of them, share with us their journey also in trying not to be so affected by the problems of the clients. Would you say that if you had a psychology as your Bachelor of Science before you entered the priesthood or the ministry, would you say that you would have been better prepared or are going to be better prepared with the kind of work that you have chosen? Let's ask Pastor Marlon.
Well, for me, after actually I graduated from college, I took up CPE. That is preparatory for any chaplaincy work. That is actually in the hospital. That is why before going to the military, at least I have this orientation about how to facilitate healing process of the patients or the soldiers. It's because if you are a chaplain working there and you will absorb everything, you will die early. No? So napakadami ng problema niyan. In fact, pag chaplain ka, halos lahat talaga na araw-araw problema yung
Kaharap mo.
Wala ka namang makaharap diyan na
hindi problema.
Hindi problema. Problema lahat dyan.
Kaya nga sila pumunta sa'yo kasi may problema.
May problema
di ba?
sila.
Kung walang problema yan, hindi yan lalapit.
Hindi lalapit yan. At saka pag nakikita nila yung chaplain, ito yung chaplain, parang yan yung magsusolve ng problema natin lahat. So, aside from listening, aside from facilitating, as chaplain, one of your main roles is to give hope afterwards. You have to at least give them hope from the Word of God and also through prayer. So, if you have been as a chaplain for such a long time, then you will know. No? You will know how to separate yourself from work and from the problems of
Other people. Okay, Father Andrew, let me ask you this. You're young and you have been in the ministry of chaplaincy for quite, sabihin na natin, not really a very long period of time yet. Would you say that if you were given the chance to choose something else, would you not choose chaplaincy or would you still want to be a chaplain?
I still want to be a chaplain because for 10 years since as a seminarian, I was trained to work in the hospital. As other chaplains, I took 2 quarters of CPEs. But it gives a meaning to me as a priest and as a person that to listening the life story of the patient is such a privilege. That they will open up to you. Even they never tell to their husband and their wife, even their children, the closest person in their life. But they will open up to you.
In other words, you consider that as a privilege.
Not privilege.
And an opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, which brings me to the next question, which you can answer first before the rest would answer that.
Yes.
How do you treat the information that you have with utmost confidentiality? In other words, like us in the medical field, we always have our patient-doctor relationship wherein the confidentiality is treated, kumbaga maximum security. You cannot in any way divulge anything that the patient tells you, not even to the closest family members. Unless they give you that authority to divulge that, then you cannot say anything. So how do you treat that with confidentiality?
I think that is same as you mentioned. The doctors and nurses have to keep this confidentiality with the maximum security. I think for us it's the same. We have
Pastor Jim, yes, whatever you learn from the families, kasi syempre ikaw, you are more into the college, and so your interactions would be students, faculty members, family members. has there been a time in your life wherein you worked as a chaplain or as a pastor wherein you were able to breach that? In other words, hindi mo namalayan, naikwento mo pala, kunyari sa asawa mo o sa anak mo, or even during your sermons that you use that as a something for somebody else to learn as a lesson.
Actually, there is a tendency. Even in your sermon, you may include the problems of someone or your patient. But as a pastor, I think as a caregiver, spiritual caregiver, I need to learn how to keep those things, to be confidential with the things that is from the patient.
Okay, let me ask Pastor Marlon, how do you keep yourself sane? In other words, how do you keep your sanity knowing na heto araw-araw, heto yung ginagawa mo, kaharap mo mga problema na ibang tao. So ikaw, sabi mo, dapat hindi mo kakargahin yung burden na yon with you para hindi ka tumanda at hindi ka mamatay ka agad. So how do you keep yourself sane, in other words?
Well,
What are the ways by which you also de-stress and detox yourself as a chaplain?
I think the best way is a healthy devotional life and connection with the Lord. And first of all, you need to be very clear that you are there as someone who will bring hope. You have to be very clear about your role, no, and the intention before going there. So I think one of the best ways is, as I've said, your connection with God, and second, knowing what is your role as a chaplain. Because sometimes, kahit nga utang, isasabihin, Pastor, pwede bang umutang? Kasi kailangan ko ganito, or may mga ganitong bagay na direkta sa'yo eh. Ididirekta sa'yo. So, how will you deal with that? So, as you have mentioned, chaplains, you have to facilitate how these people could solve their own problems. At the same time, you will always bring Jesus Christ in their lives, no matter what the religion is, because hope comes with.
Yes. What about Jaisal? What to you is the most important trait that a person who would want to become a chaplain should have?
Wow, what is the most important trait? Actually, being a chaplain, you must learn to undo what you have learned. Sometimes, the greatest virtue or trait that you must have is that humility to unlearn the things that you have learned.
In order for you to be able to understand that other party. What about you, Wani? Would you say that what is the most common misconception attached to your profession?
Akala nila, pag lumapit ka sa kanila, like for example, kung kulang sila ng pangbayad, no? Ay naku, kailangan namin ng wala kaming pera, wala kaming ganyan. Akala nila kami ang makakasolve ng problem na ganun. Na kung ikaw mahina-hina ka at hindi mo alam ang limitations mo bilang chaplain, mapapadukot ka sa bulsa mo. talagang bibigay ka talaga. Kasi usually the patients, especially in other hospitals, talagang malalaki na ang mga bills nila. And so, they are really asking, napakalaki na ng utang ko, tapos yung mga sa family ko pa, ganyan and everything. At kung hindi mo alam paano mo i-handle yun, ifa-facilitate yun, at paano mo ihihiwalay ang sarili mo sa kanila, madadala ka talaga sa kanila. At eto, if only I have this, and I'll give you this. But, as for us, ang role natin na bilang chaplains, parang doctor din po yan. Na we ask them about what happened to them, bakit nagkaganon, ano ang nangyari sa inyo, ganon. And ang amin pong, kumbaga ang prescription ng mga chaplains is the spiritual. Ibabalik namin sila sa relasyon sa Panginoon. And these problems na sinasabi nyo sa amin, how is this affecting your relationship to God? And after that, ibabalik namin ang kanilang tiwala sa Panginoon because they usually ask, bakit nangyari ito? Yeah, usually they usually
Okay,
ask that.
napakabilis po ng aking oras dito. I'd like to thank my friends here who are the chaplains working behind the scenes. I call you working behind the scenes, the people who matter the most because you are there to journey with them, actually to help them and to make them find hope again. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll continue on with our episode here on the potentials and pains of the profession, the chaplains. Please stay tuned.
Of course.
Sometimes. Why not? Yes. My brother.
My mom. And of course, my dad.
The policeman. Boss. My teachers.
My grandpa.
When I'm threatened.
When he stares at me.
When I hear his whistle. When they raise their voice.
When they call me by my full name.
Whenever he calls me like this. Hey, come on, bro. Because they're the law.
He's older than me.
My grade would be at stake.
They're my parents.
Since I'm younger than him, I'll be fired if I don't. You know.
Obedience.
Is more than a state of being obedient.
It is our
Willful practice of obedience. Conscious
decision
to obey policemen,
To obey
and
our parents.
teachers. It means submission to the rules
which are meant.
to keep us safe. Likewise,
Obedience.
is a manifestation of love. I respect my
I love my mom. I love my
older
dad.
brother.
Besides,
It says we obey
our grandparents.
our older brother, people of authority, our
Our
boss,
parents. In the Lord.
Lord.
For this is
right.
Sigurado ko mga gusto ninyo ang inyong mga tinutulugan karelasyon. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll continue on with other things do you have in mind that you believe kagyan your needs and that which first world class care kaya natin ibigay sa mga tao dito sa Pilipinas. It is a very better and whatever the Welcome back to Dynamic Living the Total You with our episode, The Pains and Potentials of the Profession, the Chaplains. So ngayon naman po ako ay nagagalak to welcome to my show. We have here Judge Andres Garalza Jr. He is actually a former board member of the Calbayog Registry of Deeds, also a practicing judge from Cebu. Welcome to Dynamic Living, sir. All right, and of course, we have also our Chief Marketing Officer from the Human Edge Consultancy, Mr. Alan Tauro. Welcome to Dynamic Living, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So, heto naman po, we'll start off with kay Judge kasi siya yung pinakabata sa atin dito, Alan, ano? Ano po yung kayang mga circumstances that led you to have an encounter with a chaplain?
In our studies, meron na kami chaplain eh. But the most significant encounter when my wife got sick. She was confined in Sanitarium Calbayog City and later on transferred here in Mamsi. And I was very thankful that chaplain of this hospital is very caring, very caring. Would visit my wife, ask, how are you? And made some prayers. When a man is sick, he will always be think of God.
When he is sick.
When he is sick,
But when he's not sick, he does not think about it.
he's more conscious of money.
So, there's a difference now, all right?
So, I was very happy that Pastor Salo was always there. roaming around asking the spiritual need. Because when a man is sick, he needs a spiritual needs. It's only at that time, only when you are at danger, that you think of God.
Yes, so dalawang bagay lang daw po kasi yan eh. When you're so busy and then you start being, in bed, the only thing that you can do is just to look up, not
Look up.
look down. Alright.
Look up.
Opo. So, kayo naman, Sir Alan, ano naman po yung encounter ninyo at bakit nagkaroon kayo ng, had that contact with a chaplain?
Well, in the first place, I was then the President CEO of Cagayan Valley Adventist Hospital. So I managed the hospital. I talked to the chaplain also. But the real encounter with the chaplain actually was when my wife was confined at Manila Adventist Medical Center. She was diagnosed of CRF, chronic renal failure, kidney failure. And we stayed in the hospital for almost 4 months. And of course, the chaplain always visits us. And on Saturdays, they came with a singing group. So they sing, they read the Bible, all the promises of God with regards to, not only with regards to health, but also of will or total well-being. And of course, they pray for. And the only thing I think that my wife survived up to now is because of prayers, and especially prayers of the chaplains.
Judge, would you say that did you think that the chaplain was able to answer your need and that of your wife at the time that the chaplain would come and see you and pray for you and your wife?
It was an adequate spiritual service. And you have more confidence when you see a pastor or a priest around. You have more confidence.
Para bang you're being offered hope, some more hope
Yes,
there.
Hope. This is your channel, Hope International.
Yes.
Now, the chaplain will deliver hope, prayers, and it strengthens your belief. And there are occasions wherein prayers alone can save a patient.
That is really true. Hindi po natin pwedeng tanggalin yan eh. Pwede po talagang mangyari because we still believe that miracles can happen eh.
Yes, miracles can happen.
Merong limitations tayo sa medical field and there are certain things that are beyond explanation even and beyond what we can do. Kayo naman, Sir Alan, would you say, sir, na yung chaplain na palaging bumibisita sa inyong asawa at sa inyo dati and you being the former president of a hospital also, would you say that the training of the chaplains that you met and the chaplains that you had in your hospital was already adequate? Or if hindi siya ganun ka-adequate, would there be something else that is needed for them to be strengthened pa so that they can become effective chaplains?
Well, inside the hospital setting, I would say that it is adequate. They do their function well. But I think it's more on the outside the hospital setting. If they can, let's say, visit the patient in their homes.
So you're talking, Sir Alan, about the post-care, post-admission,
Yes, the post-care.
post-hospitalization.
Yes. I think it's important also that the chaplain get in touch not only with the patient but as well as with the family. Pray for them, talk to them, ask them how they are now. So I think that would be an added value when it comes to chaplaincy, I think.
What about you, Judge? Sabi ni Sir Alan, maganda din daw naman sana kung yung mga chaplains na yan, after you're discharged from the hospital, tapos na yung inyong treatment and care at magaling na kayo or nagpapagaling sa bahay na susundan din kayo doon at bibisitahin. Do you think that would be a very good idea?
That is a very good idea. Because that will maintain the spiritual faith and belief. You will become more nearer to God. We do not only need a chaplain in the hospital. Even in the market, we need chaplain. Anywhere in society to create or promote a strong spiritual bond. We need chaplain.
Which brings me to my next question, to what you're saying, Judge. I'd like to follow up on that. Nasabi mo, even sa marketplace, kahit saan.
Yes.
So, how will the community benefit talaga with having chaplains, visiting them, going around with them?
That can promote, number one, spiritual consciousness. Number two, that can promote honesty. Don't you know our market is a corrupt market? They are cheating the weight,
At saka,
the kilo,
at saka sasabihin,
the meters,
at saka sasabihin nila, Judge, na, sariwa pa yan. Pero
Sariwa
hindi
pa
naman
yan.
na. Pagdating mo sa bahay, nagugulat ka na lang.
Corruption in the Philippines is almost everywhere. We need spiritual guidance.
And the chaplains can do that.
And the chaplain can do it. When we refer to chaplain, any religious group, they can do it. I'm wondering why the Philippines, Catholic country, 87% Roman Catholic, why are we corrupt?
Kulang tayo ng guidance siguro sa spirituality natin.
Kulang tayo sa guidance. We need chaplain. We do not only need soldiers to protect our security. We need chaplain to guide us going up.
Alright, napakaganda po na sinabi ni Judge. No? We need also somebody to help us and guide us,
Guide us, going
reconnect, going up.
Going up.
Hindi pa baba.
That is if you are going up.
Pero kung pababa ka naman, kailangan mo pa rin ng tulong, di ba? Na mahatak ka ng konti.
Yes,
Okay?
we need at this moment now, where almost everywhere we are in chaos. Our government now is in chaos. I may foresee there might be some upheaval, anarchy. We lost our national discipline. People now have no discipline.
So we need,
lost our family value.
that's why, so we need the chaplains to help us for the
we need the
spirituality
chaplain.
of each
We
one
need
of
the
us.
chaplain.
Now let me ask Sir Alan, Sir Alan, sa tingin niyo po, ano yung pinaka-challenge na meron dapat tayo na itatapon natin at i-call sa ating mga chaplains? What should be their challenge, the greatest challenge? We can tell them, okay, our chaplain, Father, our friends there, this is your greatest calling or challenge.
Well, the challenge to the chaplain is to first their values also in life. Well, we know that people will look at us or look at them and see how they walk in life, spirituality or spiritual wise. So integrity is important on their part. And of course, the other values that they need, like are their lives, are they obeying or are they following what Christ is teaching them?
In
or
other
doing
words,
them?
they should be walking the talk.
The talk, yes.
It's not just the talking, but the walking
yes.
the talk.
Yes.
So mahalaga yon. And babalikan ko si Judge. Judge, sa tingin niyo po ba, ang mga chaplains natin, kailangan din po nilang mag-aral upang magampanan nila yung kanilang tungkulin?
They have to study. And I think they are prepared. They studied in the seminary. They studied the Bible. They studied the religious doctrines and dogmas. They are prepared. They are prepared.
All right. So,
Now, there is some religious sector that they only studied 6 months. They become pastor. Dangerous.
aha.
They are not prepared.
Ibig sabihin, kulang pa yon.
Kulang.
So, dapat mag-aral ng
They should
mabuti.
be prepared.
Opo.
Because religious teaching needs analysis,
Aha.
need belief, strength of pure belief.
So that you can share to others.
Share it to others.
Okay. Yes.
Education is an ending. It's a continuous thing in life. So I think the in all aspects, no, in life, especially the chaplains, because they're dealing with they're dealing with human beings. They're dealing with the sick and the family, and I think they need more. It's like doctors. Doctors don't stop on studying.
Yes, continuous siya.
Continuous yung study.
Dynamic siya dapat eh. Just like being in the law, you should also be dynamic. Di po ba, Judge? Everybody should have that. Even in business, in management,
yes.
in consultancies, everybody should continue on studying. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll continue on with our discussion on the pains and potentials of the profession, the chaplains. Please stay tuned to Hope Channel.
Aduna kabay buot masayran sa kinabuhi? Aduna ba'y kagawasan sa sala o kasakit? May paglaong pa ba ang mga minatay? Unsa ba'y padulngan sa kalibutan? Mga higala, ipangutana kay pastor. Ipadala ang imong mga pangutana ug tubagon ni pastor gamit ang Biblia. Pangutana Pastor, usa ka serbisyong gidalit kaninyo gikan sa Hope Channel.
Sigurado ka mga gusto ninyo ang inyong mga input na dugan ka-reaction. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll continue on with other things do you have in mind that you believe could end your needs, and that which first world class care kaya natin ibigay sa mga tao dito sa mundo. It is a very sentimental and whatever the Welcome back to Dynamic Living, the Total You, with our episode, The Pains and Potentials of the Profession, the Chaplain. So ngayon naman po, ang ating kaharap ngayon ay ang ating mga educators, so to speak. The people who are behind teaching, preparing, and training our chaplains. I'd like to welcome to the show Pastor Ray Salo, chaplain and CPE, or Clinical Pastoral Educator, Supervisor at the AMC Manila. Welcome to Dynamic Living po.
Thank you.
All right. And of course, we have Pastor Jay Fajardo, another BCS Head Chaplain, Supervisor, AMC Manila. Welcome to Dynamic Living, sir.
Thank you, Doc.
All right. So kanina po, narinig natin, no, you were watching yung ating episode wherein we interviewed yung mga chaplains, their work, at heto naman yung mga recipients, yung mga pasyente na may encounter sila. So saan po ba nagsimula itong training ng chaplaincy? Because I remember, if I could remember correctly, nung araw, 10, 20 years ago, hindi naman natin talaga tinitrain ng mga chaplains. Kumbaga, pinapadala lang sila. So, nandun lang sila just to be able to answer the spiritual needs. So, where did this training start, and how come na naisipan siya na kailangan gawin na isang training program? Let's start with you, sir.
Actually, matagal na ang clinical pastoral education. It started back in Boston, USA, 1925 pa. 1925, it was an experience of Reverend Anton Boysen. He is a clergyman and he is also a hospital director. It's coming from his own experience na naging patient siya. Dahil siya ang hospital director, nilagay siya doon sa special room sa basement. Siya lang mag-isa, wala siyang makausap. Talagang doon niya na-realize na the totality of need of health is not only for medical side. So nung gumaling siya, nag-organize siya. So he called some pastors for supervised training, and eventually ito na yung nagiging clinical pastoral education.
Heto po ba, pastor, dinala dito sa Pilipinas, o yung mga nagsimula nito pumunta doon ng Amerika para mag-aral nito?
Ang aking pagkakaunawa ng history niyan, meron tayong mga ilang Protestant ministers na pumunta ng US. They got themselves trained, and as soon as they were trained, they came back here. They started a program at St. Luke's actually. St. Luke's Medical Center. And afterwards, nag-spread na siya hanggang sa marami ng hospitals ang narating. And Adventist Medical Center Manila is one of the training providers these days.
So pag sinabi niyo training providers kayo, may requirement pa para makapasok sa inyong educational program na ito?
Number one is academically. In a graduate of 4-year course, pwede siya.
Kailangan gumaduate ng 4
4-year
na taon na kurso. Whether it's a BS or an AB. All right?
But if he is not if the person is not in the theological discipline, he need to have additional 24 units in theological subjects.
So sa kahit na anong religion?
Kahit anong religion.
Okay, sige, tuloy.
So that he will be academically prepared. At the same time, he is also theologically prepared. And much better, there are only two courses of this chaplaincy training. We have what we call board certified chaplain. Pag sinabing board certified, ang requirement dyan, kailangan niya ng 4 units of CPE. Ang isang unit is 10 weeks. 1 unit in CPE is 400 hours. And
so,
then,
ang 4 units na yan is equivalent to how many hours?
400.
400. Okay.
And then, 6 months clinical internship.
So, sinabi nyo yun yung una, yun yung board certified. Ano yung pangalawa?
Pangalawa is board certified chaplain supervisor. Yun yung amin ni
Yung
Jay
trabaho ninyo ni Pastor Jay.
Pagka gusto mo namang maging board certified chaplain supervisor, unang-una, kailangan mong may masters. Preferably MDiv or equivalent or psychology preparations.
Paano po yun, Pastor? Pag sinabi yung board certified, may board exam yun? Are you being regulated by the PRC, the Professional Regulations Commission? Or is there a different accrediting body that will, qualify you to become, supervisors or kaya naman maging board certified na chaplain?
As of the moment, we are not PRC regulated. Pero meron siyang certifying and regulating body for Asia. And we are proud to say that we are members of and accredited of Asia Center for Clinical Pastoral Education.
So pag sinabi niyo po na kayo, you belong to that group at kayo yung mag-accredit, in other words, kailangan silang mag-take ng, just like a prototype board exam. So they have to go through the examinations, they have to pass that, and then you issue them certificates. Is that it?
Yeah. Pagka in every level, for example, board certified supervisor, kailangan mo ng master's degree and then 13 units of CPE.
Which is 1 unit again is 400 hours.
So that is
multiplied by 13 also
yeah. That is
units.
practically 4 years.
All right.
From master's degree. So in every level, after ng basic na 4 units, mag-undergo ka ng supervisor in training, 3 units. And then you will present to the board, the accrediting body. If you pass, you will move on to the assistant supervisory level. Another 3 units, and then you will present again in the accrediting body.
What's beautiful here, Pastor, it seems that the chaplaincy now is a profession that, will require one to be academically competent.
Yes.
Diba? Para bang, it's not something na bagsakan siya. It's like a wastebasket work wherein kung hindi ka nagustuhan ng iyong denomination o kaya may problem ka dun sa work mo, whether you're a Protestant, you're a minister, or whatever have you, itatapon ka sa hospital kasi yun yung magiging trabaho mo. Heto, this is now making the chaplaincy profession as professional as can be and making sure that the people who work there are truly qualified.
That's right. And we really are professionalizing it. First, they are academically prepared. Secondly, they are supposed to be clinically competent.
Pag sinabi mong clinically competent, what do you mean by that?
That means they have a good hold of or understanding of behavior, human behavior. They can readily interact with people in crisis or in whatever life situations they may have, and can facilitate them and help the person see life better.
Kasi pag sinabi nating chaplain, kanina yung sa mga interviews natin, lahat yun sila, they're chaplains Parang, there were certain things that they mentioned which I'd like to reiterate now. One is the listening skills.
That's right.
Number 2 is the facilitative skill. And number 3 na nakita ko, yung kanilang compassion and passion for their job. Okay? So it's already a given. But the thing that makes me wonder, which you both can help me out and our viewers would be, how are they trained now to have that self-awareness? Kasi binring up ko yan kanina sa kanila na meron kaming tinatawag sa aming psychiatry classes, transference. In other words, when you deal with your patients, they tell you all their burdens, there is that problem of you being able to carry that burden, internalizing it, and being unable to let go of that, so that kung medyo weak ang personality mo, you become overwhelmed by it, and instead of you being able to help your patient, ay nadagdagan pa. Alright? Anybody?
Yeah, in CPA, there are only 3 basic important values that a person should learn. Number 1 is self-awareness, as you mentioned. Second is improvement in relationship with themselves, with others, and with God, and enhancement of their ministry. In the training, listening is a basic skills that need to be learned by the chaplains. Listening is in a deeper level, not only for others, but listening to themselves. They are trained to address their own personal issues, their own emotions, their own vulnerability and humanity, so that they can make boundaries, boundaries for themselves, boundaries for others. By taking hold of their emotions, on their own limitations, being aware of it, more or less they can help and manage the patients.
Yes, Pastor.
In clinical pastoral education, we walk with our students, discover more of themselves, their leanings, their inclinations, as well as their natural responses, mental and emotional response when confronted by challenges in life. And so, at times, they may see themselves in the situation of those that they are trying to minister. But they are trained that they are just simply to acknowledge that they share like an experience of the client, but they are not to let that experience hinder them in dispensing the ministry much
Which
needed.
now brings me to the next level of question. So here you are, you're training them to be able to empathize, to listen, to facilitate, so that the patient or the client, whether in the school, in the military camp, in the hospital, will be able to unburden themselves and find meaning and hope, di ba? So yun man yung ating target. Kung sila nagkaroon ng problema after carrying all the burdens of others, like kayong dalawa, you have all of this on a day-to-day basis, who do you go to or who do they go to for them to be able to unburden themselves? Or supposing nagkaroon sila din ng problema, like for example, it comes at a time wherein they too are vulnerable, sinabi mo nga. So where do they go? Do they go see you also? Do you have a group that will also cater to them, to their personal journeys?
Yes, we are blessed because as we mentioned earlier, we are connected with the oldest and the largest CPA program regulating body here in Asia. Among ourselves, we have also a group of supervisors. And we also support each other. We contact our co-supervisors to unburden ourselves. When we are also, of course, we absorb energies and problems on the students. We also journey with our co-supervisors to share with.
So in other words, you have a very strong support system. Okay. Now, what is there in the chaplaincy program now that you believe that can still be improved upon? Or sa tingin mo ba, yung program ninyo, yung curriculum ninyo, is more than enough, it's already sufficient to answer for the needs of today?
I personally think we can still improve in the area of making our services relevant to the need of the nation. For instance, right now, those who are training with me on top of their regular hospital exposures and ministries with the patients. Each week, 2 days of their exposures would be with the drug surrenderies. And so that's another area of ministry which I am introducing them for them to see that there is more to hospital work, but they can also get engaged in community work.
Yes, alam niyo po, Pastor, that's a very noble work and something that is very relevant today where the Philippines is right now in terms of this drive of the government to remove or eradicate drugs here in the country. And as a matter of fact, we were just with the Secretary of Health, Dr. Ubial, and we were discussing also this program of the government wherein our drug surrenderies would be rehabilitated and be allowed to go back to the mainstream community as, you know, being productive citizens already. And your program will help them, you know, not really fast track, but something like it will also give them another leverage on how they will be able to overcome going back to their old habits.
And we started working with the city government because we cannot just enter the barangays and ask the people, those surrenderies, to turn to us. We work things out with the city government, the Anti-Drug Abuse Council, for instance, of Pasay City, and then they brought us to the barangays, and it's there in the barangay that we meet and minister the surrenderies, dealing with their emotional problems and other things.
Yes, and also their fears. Maraming yan silang fears, di po ba? Hindi lang naman yan yung pag-surrender nila, ganun lang yun. They have a lot of fears and also a lot of things that they really need to unburden themselves, di ba? So, Pastor, meron po ba kayong specific requirement in terms of personality traits that would make one a very good candidate, one who would be a very good chaplain later when he finishes the course with you?
Yes, I think so. Number one is a person with passion with people, with helping people. And also a person who is with passion of helping themselves. Another thing that we do this time in helping the community is the organization also improve the curriculum. We also develop a new program which is we call the DLC, Distant Learning Center, which we improved the 10 weeks to 13 weeks. We divided the time for hospital-based or clinical-based to their own community and their own job so that they can get some clients or directly communicate with their people in their own job.
So what would be the most challenging aspect of your work as a chaplain and as an educator?
The challenging one is, of course, on how to continue providing self-care. You know, you are dealing with broken lives, broken people each day, and the challenge would be how can you maintain your composure. And it's, of course, you will always need to develop creative ways on how to nurture yourself because you cannot rely on others. Though, as my colleague said, we have our own
support
group and conferences. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is you are responsible for yourself. So self-care.
Yeah. So has it come to you, to your practice as an educator or as a chaplain, you also reached bottom in your life? Like for example, ayoko na. Or tama na ito, maybe I should start shifting some, you know, do something else aside from what I'm doing.
So far for me, it's not yet because I just fresh from this, it's not too long for me. So right now, I still in the peak of this supervisory profession or helping ministry. So I have not yet come to that point.
How do you teach your future chaplains on how to be able to detach themselves when their clients become too clingy to them? Because it can happen na kumbaga parang dahil ikaw yung link niya, ikaw yung nagbigay ng pag-asa sa kanya, they have this emotional attachment to you, and sometimes, you know, that is already unhealthy. Because I do believe it can happen.
When that happens, that means the person has become emotionally dependent. And that's a gross, I would say, mistake to make people emotionally dependent. That's why in CPE or in chaplaincy, we let our clients, I would say, we make our clients discover for themselves how to get out of their situations or problems.
Not you helping
Not
them
us
get it
making
out.
them dependent on us.
All right. Now, I'd like to thank the both of you for joining us here in Dynamic Living, giving us a wider perspective, a better understanding of your profession and of the training that you're doing. So, Pastor, what would your message of hope be to our viewers?
Friends, you may be troubled or you may have some cares or concerns. You may contact us at Adventist Medical Center, Manila, 525-9191. Local 256.
All right. What about you, sir?
For those who are interested to participate on this program and want to be trained, just contact or visit those areas of centers flash in your screen. This Asia Center for Clinical Pastoral Education is a nationwide organization, and if you find that this location in your screen is nearby in your place, you may wish to visit us and contact us.
All right. Dear viewers, remember this, that people who are in distress will need our prayers. And the prayers that we have for each one of them will not necessarily mean coming from us alone, but it can be a community thing wherein everybody prays for everybody. And even in Galatians 6 verse 2, it says here, to carry each other's burdens, fulfilling the law of Christ. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat.
Looking for total blessedness, searching for sweet success. We find in our hearts what God does best. We're happy to share it too. Dynamic living, making the best of you on fire. Dynamic living, sharing the faith, we're giving the love and bringing the total you.
If you have been blessed by this program, share hope and help us continue to bring hope everywhere. Send your donations to South Philippine Union Conference through any of the bank details shown here. Hope Channel, sharing love, changing lives.